Well, good afternoon, friends, and welcome back. Cumberland Outdoorsman here with a good friend of mine, Doug. You've seen him before in the Whitetail Classic, I think we shot together.
Yeah, we sure did.
This is a veteran turkey hunter. He's got a lot of years of turkey hunting behind him and hopefully several more to come. But it's such a pretty day today. It kind of got me in the mind of turkey season, and it'll roll around here before too long, probably another month or so.
Month and a half, probably.
Month and a half.
About the 15th, I think, middle of April now. They moved it back like they did last year, kept it that way.
Right. About 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Well, today's video is going to be about some of these old friction calls. I went through my vest and looked in my den, and I found some old calls that I had for many years and honestly haven't even used them. But I thought it'd be a good idea for those of you that enjoy using turkey calls of the friction type, friction calls. And I know most turkey hunters enjoy using friction calls like a glass call or a slate call. But if you use different strikers, as you probably well know, you'll get a totally different sound out of these old calls. And, they last forever. As long as you don't break them or, crack them or whatever, they should last you forever.
Oh, they will, yeah.
As long as you take good care of them, And one thing you don't want to get on, especially a slate call, is oil. Oil will ruin a slate call, Water is okay because water will evaporate, but if you get any kind of oil on them, it pretty much kills the sound. But let's go ahead and get started. I've got a few calls here that I dug out. As you know, I just posted a video where I attended the National Wild Turkey Convention in Nashville, and there were several call makers that have been around for years that are still making calls now. And one of them that comes to mind is Primos. Now, I've got a Primos glass call here. A lot of you are familiar with this one here. And it's a really loud call, and it works well with a lot of different strikers out there. I found that a hardwood or a laminated striker works really well with this call here. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. I'll use one of Primos's laminated striker. That's the Lucky Striker right here. Go ahead and make that sound. This is one of those calls that you can use on a windy day. It'll really reach out there a long ways, and if there's any gobblers around the area within probably a half a mile or so, they'll hear that. They'll hear that a long ways out. And a lot of times it'll yank a gobble out of one where nothing else will, But that little call right there gives you that nice rollover from a high pitch to kind of a lower pitch. Even though it sounds really clean on the lower side, it's not quite as raspy. And then I found this one here. This is a limb shaker by HS Strut. I haven't used this in years and years. It's just been sitting on my mantle for probably 10 or 12 years now.
I've got some here just been sitting in a drawer and on a shelf somewhere.
Now I got a new striker here on eBay the other day. This is a laminated striker, and I'll tell you what, it really makes this call come out, and it gets the sound out of it probably better than any other striker that I've got. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it right quick. Cluck on it. Gives you that nice raspy, high pitch but raspy sound at the end. Now let me tell you, that sound right there sounds as good as any custom call I've heard.
Oh yeah, I guarantee you that. Yeah, they make good calls.
Doug, you got any calls you want to show?
Yeah, I've got, this is probably the first one that I ever bought, and back when I started turkey hunting, I pretty much went with HS Strut because they had a lot of calls that was cheap. Their mouth calls was cheap, their box calls, and you could get a package, you could buy a box call and a slate call or a mouth call together. But this little call right here, and I've always liked it with it's just a slate call. It's real small, but you can vary it. Light plugs, hard plugs. I killed a turkey with this the second season I had. And I went to a friend of mine's place at about 11 o'clock. The guy I hunted with that morning had to go do something, and the guy pitched me his keys, said go to my farm. I saw some birds out there this morning. I never had been out there turkey hunting. Walked up to an old fence row where some trees was clustered together. Yelped on this thing. I probably didn't yelp very good because I hadn't mastered it yet. But I heard one gobble, and I looked up and he come out of a little cedar thicket in a pasture field, and I put out some decoy, and I yelped again, and he turned and gobbled at me and broke and run, just run right through the fence, right into the decoy, and I shot and killed. Hadn't been out there 15 minutes at the max of walking back there and setting up and everything, but I did use this little call right here. I've got now. This is an old one.
That's aluminum.
This is.
Before we go on, is this slate over glass or
That's
is that
just slate.
just slate? Well, it looks like.
Yeah.
Might be some
I don't believe it's over glass. It may be.
It's a little deuce by
Yeah.
HS Strut.
HS
I don't know if they still make this or not,
I don't know.
but it looks like slate over glass to me.
Well, it may be.
Yeah, that's a dynamite sounding little
Now
call.
this one you can show. This is an old one. That's a
This is a night and hail.
night and hail. That's the ultimate.
Yeah, from your ultimate series. That's aluminum.
That's aluminum. Now this one is pretty loud too. Just it clucks is so loud.
But I could feel that.
Yeah, that's a really good call. And like I said, I have well,
Let me try that.
I should
I'm gonna try one.
try one of yours. That's the only hardwood striker I got. Well, I got these hickories.
I'm gonna try this new striker here. I'll tell you what, let me try that. I made a walnut striker last year.
I think that'd be good.
You saw this one in action where I harvested a longbeard. I think it was the third day of the season. And walnut just gives you a really good sound, you know. Been my experience. There's something about, I guess, the hardness of it. And it just resonates really well with a lot of these calls. Where's it?
That purr sounds good. That maple striker really does sound good on that.
You don't see many strikers made out of maple,
Uh-uh.
but this one here gives you a little bit different sound,
Yeah.
as you could hear.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Let's see, what do we got there? This is another HS truck. I want to try that one. Try your maple on that one because
okay.
I'm gonna set yours right there, and I want you to try this. I'm gonna scuff this one up like that. Well, I am scuffing these up because they've been sitting up there actually in the bottom of the gun cabinet. So.
Yeah, this is a 360 degree. I believe this is a glass call here.
I'll give you a really old one here just in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds really good too. I mean, they're I have put these up, and I need to get these back out. And
You
start
need to get
using
it back out. Yeah.
I want you to try one more because you're a better friction caller than I am. That's a Primos, another Primos old call. It's called Old Glory.
Okay.
It's frictionite. Now, what that is I'm not really sure what frictionite is. Maybe some kind of ceramic, maybe.
Yep.
But I've called turkeys in with that.
That's the back of the call, and that's the front of it.
Yeah,
I think it's ceramic.
I believe that's what it is. Sounds pretty good too.
Sounds all
Switch
right.
over that hardwood right there. I like that. Sounds really good.
Let's try. You know, I've got one. I've got an old call that I bought. I left the pot in the woods, but I've still got the striker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I want you to show the difference too. Now this is, let's use this call.
this is an ebony and walnut.
Oh yeah. I want you to use this again, aluminum, but now this is the striker that come with it, I'm pretty positive. And I thought that the hardwood striker sounds better than that. That's always been a hard striker for me to use.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Kind of has like a tinny sound or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. But it might work on a windy day to get their attention. There's your one you just handed me right there.
Yeah, I was gonna try that on it, on the ceramic call.
Okay.
And see what it sounds like. Totally different sound,
Yeah.
but kind of a high pitched sound, like a younger hen.
Younger hen, yeah.
You know, it's been my experience a lot of times. You got an old gobbler up there, and usually it's the higher pitched hen. That's the one he goes to most of the time.
Most of the time.
I don't know what-
Most lead hens that I've dealt with, the lead hens are pretty raspy, and they'll start off with that yelp, 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 yelp in the morning, and they'll
Right.
get to falling. But them little higher pitched sounds and different sounds. I mean, you just have to try it. Everything works different, you know. I really like to use a friction call when I'm calling for somebody. Like you're the shooter and I'm behind you calling, and I use a variation. I actually use a box call too, which is a friction call in a sense.
All right.
But I really stick to these slate calls, and that's what I like to do.
Well, folks, just a few days ago, I picked up another old call, this old yeller by Night and Hail, and it's got a plastic pot there, as you can see, as most of these do, you know. These commercial calls, I guess
Sure.
a lot of them have plastic pots.
Sure.
You know, they don't have
The price.
the price is different. If you get a custom call.
Molded plastic is cheaper than a hardwood base.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
But you know, it really surprises me the quality of the sound that you can get even out of these older calls that were mass produced, you know. I'll demonstrate with this one here. I'm not sure how this one here will sound, but that's Old Yeller by Night and Hail, and you can purr on it real easy. I always like to hold the striker a little bit higher, and what I do is I cushion the bottom of the call either with my palm or I put it on my leg, because as Doug was just explaining to me, when a hen is feeding and purring, it's not a very loud sound. It's a really subtle sound.
Right, they're very subtle, and we really purr too loud on ours,
Yep.
to be honest with you.
But you can get a good purr out of this old call.
Now that's what a purr really sounds like
Yeah.
right there. Is that right there?
You know, it's a subtle, quiet call, but I'm gonna tell you, that gobbler can hear it longer distances than you think.
Oh yeah. He's got pretty good ears on him. Yeah.
But you can do the same thing with a slate call. I've got an old slate call that I've used for a long time, and I've killed up a bunch of turkeys with this one here. This is a Kentucky Clucker by Boyd Smith.
Huh? Never heard of him. But anybody from Kentucky's pretty good. That's where I'm from. So
I'm telling you, I've killed a bunch of turkeys with this one.
there wasn't no turkeys around when I was growing up.
Yeah, but this one sounds really good.
You used that when me and you hung together. I know that's the one you used. I remember it. Yeah.
That guy riding on that thing, he's just having a good time riding back
He's
and forth.
riding around. He's out here in the country.
Anyway, let me do that again without the background noise. And then for the purr,
That's a really good tip that you just give right then for the purr, is moving your hand up the striker. It sounds really a whole lot better than I do it.
well, as you can see, this is an old call. I've had this one for 25 years maybe,
Yeah, probably.
or longer,
Maybe. We are getting older.
with a new striker. So
Yeah.
we're breathing new life into these old calls.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you,
Hardwood strikers just hard to beat, Tom.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
are.
they're just hard to beat. I got a couple old hickories, but I got that one laminated one. I use the laminated one because that's the one that sounds the best. And yours sound really, really good on this stuff, on everything. So,
one thing I've noticed, especially if you hunt public land, and I've noticed this from when I first started turkey hunting, and I started to learn how to use a mouth call. A lot of times you'll get on a gobbler, you know, you'll have him responding to you if you started him with a box call or a slate call or something like that, and you sit down and you start using a mouth call. The next time you hear him, he's further away.
Yeah.
The next time you hear him, he's further away.
I've heard it, yep. Been there.
A lot of these public land turkeys have been conditioned, and they've had a bad experience with somebody that used a mouth call. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, mouth calls have their own tone and stuff, totally different from any of these that we've done today.
now there's nothing wrong with using a mouth call. If you're
No.
good, if you're good with it, you know, use it.
I am a mouth call man.
Yeah.
I am. I've killed a lot of turkeys with a mouth call.
Oh yeah, me too.
But you still need a variety of calls on turkeys because sometimes they will not answer a mouth call. They will not answer a box call.
Right.
And you hit one of these slate calls and bam, he hits you, hits you back. That's a turkey you can call in most of the
That's
time.
right.
If you're working good. They're great tools to have, no doubt about it.
One little call that I used to carry with me a lot, and I broke the original one I had, but I got another one, is this HS Strut Black Widow. This is a glass call, and it has a tone to it that's different than any other glass call I've ever used.
Yeah.
But it's
I remember you telling me about this one, yeah.
this thing. A lot of times I've had turkeys that refuse to gobble to anything, but then when I pulled out the old Black Widow, they gobbled back.
Yeah, well, that's what
It's-
they call the Black Widow, I guess.
I guess. But you can hear the difference in the sound.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's got that high pitch, but
Yeah.
rasp right in there with
High
it. you know.
pitched rasp, yeah.
There is nothing wrong with that sound.
Oh no, I'd carry that. If you don't want it, I'll put it in there.
But there's been times, even with a great sounding call like this slate over glass or the ceramic or whatever, you'll get an occasional half-hearted gobble, and then I'll pull this thing out. I'm telling you, they'd come to it. I'd hit it a few times.
Yeah, that's
they
a great
respond.
call. Great sounding call.
Yep.
Just absolutely great.
I don't know if it's a difference in the pitch or what it is, but there's quite often you'll find they won't gobble to anything but one specific call. And I've seen that with box calls. Sometimes they'll respond to a box call where they won't respond to anything else.
Yeah, that's true. And for me, I don't use a box call a lot. I carry one with me and try, like you're talking about. I've had them answer when we don't answer nothing else.
Right.
But like I said, a loud slate call, or even a loud mouth call, but I do use both, and especially if I'm hunting with somebody, I like to use a little bit of a mouth call and a little bit of a slate call. And it makes them think there's a couple up there. Primos.
This is a little wet box that I carry around with me.
Yeah.
This stays in my vest because it's got a really good sound, but it's so small. It's a little call.
Yeah.
But and it's like you said, it's kind of a friction call.
Right. It is. Yeah.
And it has a coating on it, as you can see there on the paddle. And it has a coating on the box itself, on the edges of the box. And it's supposed to work even when it gets wet.
Well, that's what they tell me. I never did get one of them because I don't hunt in the rain.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't either.
retired, so I can hunt any day I want to.
Right,
So
right.
if it's raining, I just don't have the. I just don't want to kill one that's set up in a rainstorm all night long
No.
and flat down on the ground.
I don't either.
I let him dry out and spend the day by himself, and I'll come get him another day. But
I hear you.
but these work good. I know they do. I remember when they come out with them.
And they're adjustable too. They have an adjustment screw there on the end. Now, we don't get paid by Primos. I'm just showing
No.
you some of these friction calls. We're showing all different brands and everything. that are commercially available to any of you guys out there. I don't know if they even make this anymore, but you can still find them on eBay and other
Sure.
places, you know. But they have a really good sound. I'll go ahead and demonstrate. That's turkey right there.
That's turkey.
You know, and it's got two sides. This side here sounds a little different.
Raspy.
A little raspier.
Yeah. A little bit higher pitched.
Yep.
Yeah.
Has that nice rollover.
Yeah, it's a good box call.
Yeah.
I keep it in my pouch too.
And it's loud.
Yes, it's loud. It's louder for a little call. I remember one time I had one that was about that long. I forgot. It might have been a Quaker Boy box call.
Right. And they make good calls too.
They make good calls, and I think they're still in business. You know, we talk about Primos and Night and Hail. Those guys have done so much for turkey hunting and hunting in general. They don't only turkey hunt. They duck hunt and deer hunt and elk hunt and do all that. Put out the videos that I've watched ever since the low 90s. You know, 91, 92, when it was VHS videos.
Right.
Because nowadays you can get on YouTube and watch all you want. Uh-oh, here comes the killer.
Now, I pulled out something here that you don't see anymore. This one here was made by Night and Hail. This was their dueling hens call.
That's the dueling hens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push button call, you know, or push pull, however you want it. But what's interesting about it is you can use a striker on the paddle itself. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Get my sandpaper here.
All right. Yeah, you like me, carry some sandpaper with
You gotta have that sandpaper.
you. I use the Scotch stuff too.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, especially on the slate.
Right. Yeah, that green Scotch.
Yeah. I don't want it done with it.
You know, there was this call here that I bought from, I think it was Chattahoochee Calls.
Yeah.
The guy had a piece of that Scotch-Brite glued to the top of this call, where
Yeah.
it's always there with you, but it doesn't do you any good unless you want to use it on another striker.
Right.
But it's just like that material.
Yeah.
And he had a disc of it glued to the top
Yeah,
of
I've
his
got
call.
a piece of sandpaper that goes with this. For aluminum, I like to scratch them up pretty good.
Right.
But just for a slate, just to clean it, I just take one of them, and man, you can clean one of them in no time. And trust me, it will make a difference. You get moisture on these slates and stuff,
Yeah.
they don't. You got to clean them. I mean, plain and simple.
Right.
It's not gonna sound right for you.
Well, I haven't used this striker on this call yet, but we'll give it a try here and see what it sounds like.
I haven't seen this yet either.
Maybe soft clucks.
That's pretty good.
That don't sound as good as some of the others, but you know, it's a different sound than what they normally hear. But where it's really good is if you want to imitate a fight.
Yeah.
And that's because you can do this,
Yeah.
and you can do this. And it sounds like two turkeys in one call.
Yeah.
That sounds like two turkeys going at it.
Turkeys fight all the time.
Yep.
They fight when the gobblers are together in the fall, all through the winter and into the spring. Them gobblers are fighting probably every day for dominance.
That's right.
And the hens do the same thing.
Yep.
And that's why you've got a lead hen. If there's 8 or 10 hens, there will be a lead hen, and they're going to do what she tells them to do. However she speaks that language to them.
Right. Now I've actually seen, and I think I got a little bit of footage a couple of years ago with two hens going at fighting each other.
Yeah.
And man, you talk about making turkeys gobble.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They were going
will. Yeah.
crazy. It sounded like they were jumping off the ground. They were gobbling so much. But that little sound right there, you know, I would probably use it as a last ditch effort if they don't respond to clucking or yelping or whatever. But you know, if for some reason you've tried everything and you can't get them to come in, a lot of times they'll come to a fight. You know, and that sound. That's enough to get them convinced.
Field turkeys in the farm I hunted on years ago, I don't hunt it anymore, was they'd get out there in the middle of that darn field and strut all day and them hens would feed. But I've used that fighting on the slate,
Right.
and they'd break. You know, them toms would break and come to you, and I've killed them by doing that.
You can do that
Sure.
with 2 strikers. I'll try to demonstrate that if I can. And I just put it against my leg. Really, it's better if you had a call that was attached to your leg, but you can use 2 strikers and make that sound. It's not quite as convincing as that little call, but
Right. It's pretty good though.
you can go from that right into a yelp, you know, and do some cutting on it, and then go right back to your fight. And you know, it's just, turkeys are like kids. You know, if there's a fight that breaks out in the school,
Sure.
everybody wants to go to that fight.
They want to go see it.
They wanna go see that
They want
fight.
to go see who the winner is or whatever.
yeah.
Or take on the winner, whatever. Yeah.
Right, and I found
Yeah.
that to be true with turkeys a lot of times. I've had them come running
Oh, I
to that
have
call right there.
Yeah.
You know,
I have too.
one of the biggest turkeys I ever killed was at a opening day in 1996, and that's what he came to. You know, he would gobble, and he would get a little closer to the yelp, and then you try to work him, you know, subtle, and next thing you knew, he was 80 yards away
Walking
again.
off again. Yeah.
But then I thought, you know, I'm going to try that fight and call, and man, he came right to me. He
Yeah.
came
I had him come to me.
within 30 yards, and he presented a shot.
Those hung up birds that just, you know, they've been behind hens all morning and they're just going to strut behind them all day long till they go fly up in a tree in the afternoon. So,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I think we'll close out the video with that.
Okay.
That pretty much covers a lot of it. But if you've got some old calls sitting around, you know, don't just leave them to gather dust. Find some strikers that will work well with your old calls. You know, if they're still in good shape, if you've kept them in good condition, if they're not broken, or if they're not soaked in oil. I don't know why they'd be soaked in oil, but you know, there's lots of things that can get on these calls and ruin them, but oil is definitely one of them.
It is.
And you know, get them out and practice with them before the season starts. In most states, we've still got at least a month or 2 before the season starts. You know, get the old calls out and see how well that you can imitate those turkey sounds that will turn the tide for you when the moment of truth arrives. You know, you get that old gobbler out there and he doesn't quite want to come into some of the newer calls you have. Try one of these older calls. It may just do the trick, you know.
It's done it for us quite a few times.
Oh, yeah,
Sure
many,
has.
many times. I've got new calls as well, but a lot of times I'll go back to these older calls. And like I said, you know, I used this one last year, and I tried some other calls, and I couldn't hardly get a response. But as soon as I pulled this out of the vest and started yelping on it, I had a hen up in a tree that was responding to me, and then I had 3 gobblers out in the field and 1 in the woods, and every time I hit this call, they respond to me.
Yeah, every time.
Every
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long, you know.
That makes it fun when you're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of it, you know, is that gobbling and them
Oh, that's-
responding to your calling and stuff. And to
Yeah.
actually work a bird in and take the bird is just a bonus, really. It really is.
Yep. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video here. I appreciate my friend Doug.
Enjoyed being with you again, Tom, as
And,
always.
We're looking forward to another season. Hopefully we'll get some footage. Maybe we'll get out together this year
We
somewhere.
will. We will. Hey, I'm up to walking 2 miles a day, nonstop, and I couldn't do that the last couple of years.
Incidentally, he had a little health problem here a while. I don't know, it's been about a month ago or something.
A little over a month. Had a heart attack, but they put some stents in and quit smoking. Walking 2 miles a day nonstop. It's amazing what doctors can do for you now.
Yep.
I feel great. I feel better than I've felt in years.
Well,
I really
good,
do.
good. Well, I learned something just by sitting here trying out these different calls and which strikers sound the best with which call. And I found out that this little maple striker sounds really sweet with Doug's aluminum call. So
It does.
I'm gonna give him that striker.
Oh man, thanks.
To go along with that.
I'm taking. I'm putting this back in my turkey vest right here.
I think that striker sounds sweeter
Yeah.
on that call
Oh,
than
yeah.
any of the others. Yep. Man.
Yep, I'm gonna put it in there.
Yep. That sounds really good on that call.
I might use that when I'm filming for you this year and you shoot a bird with it right there.
You never know.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? I
All right.
appreciate that, Tom.
You're quite welcome.
Yep.
Well, listen, folks, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something, and you know, I'll go back to saying the same thing I said. If you've got some of these old calls laying around, give them a try. Try some new strikers on them, and break them out this spring, because you never know. They may turn the tide for you, and you can harvest that old gobbler that's been hard to get for the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, remember one thing. If you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, whatever your outdoor pursuit happens to be, I hope you enjoy it as much as we do. And until next time, make sure you hit that like button, smash the bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this one will be coming your way. So until then, y'all take good care of yourselves and get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. We'll see you.